Hey everyone, it's Alex, and this is one of the most insane, wild OTA patches I think I've ever seen, and not for the reasons you might think. We got some pretty significant nerfs, and we have an insane buff, like insane from a standpoint of like, I can't believe they're going to do this to the meta. And then another insane buff for a card that's going to make an awesome comeback, and I'm looking forward to. But there's a lot of key talking points here to get through, and it's not just the cards and the buffs and the nerfs, because there's some kind of like inferencing that needs to be done here. And we're looking at the 5.7 to 5.6 nerf of Lady Deathstrike as a perfect example of the unreliability of data. So what we have here is the development team here saying that, okay, this has been one of the best cards in the game for the last few weeks. Not on my bingo card. I guarantee you very few people would have associated Lady Deathstrike with being one of the best cards in Marvel Snap right now. With that being said, it does track with the idea that the Pixie Deathstrike deck, which I've featured as like literally the top deck in the game over the last couple weeks on my Decks of the Week video, it has Lady Deathstrike in it naturally. It's a core component of it, and it works really well against this junk meta that we're seeing right now. But I don't see Lady Deathstrike as a problem. I don't see people like making angry Twitter posts about Lady Deathstrike. It's just not that. And here's the thing. They're saying it's one of the best cards in the game, but yet when we look at our untapped statistics, and this is infinite and above, 6,000 collection level, no bots included, we're looking at a Series 4 card with a 49% win rate, a negative cube rate, and only a 6.3% meta share. So like, what's going on here? Like, it's interesting. I'm not saying their data is wrong. I'm saying that there is some unreliability here. Our data is limited. I'm assuming the second dinner data is much more robust and up to date and perhaps more accurate because they have the internal ability to gather data across all segments of all games, of all MMRs, and etc. But this really caught me by surprise because I don't think that Lady Deathstrike was a menace to the meta in the way Thanos was or Shuri was 2 months ago, or not 2 months ago, a year ago, or whatever, right? We've had these pockets of like severe meta, undesirability, and I don't think that Lady Deathstrike was ever part of that. So it's really surprising for me to see this card get nerfed, and it really showcases the disconnect between the data we have available and the data that they have internally, okay? And so I'm going to think more about this, especially as I build my decks of the week and build kind of like my statistics-based deck kind of videos, because clearly there is some bit of like, incongruence between the data that we have and the data that they have. So Lady Deathstrike, it's a very surprising nerf. Almost as surprising as Darkhawk getting nerfed, honestly. A 2.4% meta share, a win rate of almost 53%, I'll add. Positive cube rate. But again, they're saying this is one of the best cards in the game. And I believe it. Honestly, I believe it, because I think the disruption package that Darkhawk offers of the Korgs, the Rock Slides, to some degree the Black Widows, they're all very effective cards. They're great cards in their own right, and Darkhawk's kind of that cherry on the top that allows you to finish the game. But I never thought that Darkhawk was a problem. I don't feel like Darkhawk's a problem. I'm not seeing a ton of Darkhawk in my games, and when I do and I lose to it, I'm like, okay, cool. This gamer's playing a Darkhawk deck. Good on him, right? Like, it's like, it's not a problem. To nerf a card running a 2% meta share feels so weird. So the question becomes, okay, we have the Lady Deathstrike, which is like the issue between what data we have and what data they have. The Darkhawk question becomes, okay, you nerf a card that, let's say in theory, is performing really well, and when I play against it, it felt really good. The statistics support it playing very well. But at a 2% meta share, it's not damaging to the meta. It's not a problem. It's not kind of being played like, across 20% of games or 30% of the games, in the case of like Jeff or Red Hulk or whatever. So are you nerfing just like, there's always going to be a best card in the game. There's always going to be a best card in the game. Why nerf this one? I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm just saying like you're nerfing a card at a 2% meta share. Like it's kind of curious, isn't it? Like, how good could it have possibly been? Could it have been so far ahead that they're like, okay, the people that figured this out are really crushing it? Does that mean that like myself and others who are trying to track the meta have completely been missing on Darkhawk the entire time? Maybe. I mean, I featured a couple decks with Darkhawk, but they weren't near the absolute top. So again, it's a question of data. It's a question of, what the nerf priorities are, what the overall goals of keeping this metagame flowing are. Like, again, Darkhawk was not a problem, and it just got nerfed. So, I don't know. Very interesting discussion point. I'd be interested in hearing your thoughts in the comment section down below. Now that I see that, you're definitely going to let me know your thoughts about this. This is just poorly timed, in my opinion. This is a really bad buff at a really bad time. Oh my gosh, I just realized I didn't update the card here. 1 second. And would you look at that, just like magic, the card is now a 4-2 like it was supposed to be in the first place. Okay, so basically Leech gets buffed from a 5-3 to a 4-2. Oh no. Oh no, I can't even believe they did this. Now the reason why I'm saying this is because like Leech has been one of the most frustrating cards in the game. The way that the text works now is way weaker than it used to be, right? It only affects on reveal cards and etc. Still impactful. But they just released Blink, and I think Blink is really good. Like, it's not crazy good. It's like a 4-star right now. It's a good, solid 4-star card. Like, I literally climbed to Infinite at a 72% win rate with a hella Blink deck. And Cozy just released a video which utilized Leech, and Leech was a 5 cost at the time, and it still worked well. At a 4 cost playing Leech on curve with Blink, now everything's absolutely out of control. Now this is going to get wild. Blink stocks way through the roof. Leech stocks way through the roof. This is just a poorly timed buff, because what's going to happen is Leech is going to be played in pretty much every single Blink deck because of its disruptive capabilities and the opportunity for you to swap out a 4 cost card on curve with Blink at 5 cost and basically guarantee you're getting a 5 or 6 drop from Leech. So not only are you disrupting their hand, but you're guaranteeing a 5 or 6 drop substitution from Blink. This is insane. This is absolutely insane. So yeah, I think the deck building kind of landscape of Blink has changed significantly with a target. Now you have Leech as a major target. You have Jubilee as a major target. Now you don't have to rely on like the ramp style Electro or the Hella style RNG. There's going to be just a good cards tempo deck that I'm going to make that's going to have Leech and it's going to have Jubilee with Blink, and it's going to crush, because like this is just, it's too good of an effect at 4 costs with Blink. People are going to be pissed. This is going to be annoying, and I can see this being reverted pretty fast. And if I'm wrong, I'm happy. Listen, if I'm wrong and Leech is irrelevant still, then thank you. I'm so happy to be wrong in this case. This is a card we don't want to be popular, and I just don't think I'm wrong. I think it's going to be popular. And that brings us to Psylock. Now, these changes here I actually really agree with. I like these a lot. Okay, Psylock was a victim of the Thanos meta. The card itself was cool as a ramp piece, but it wasn't like the problem, right? And so nerfing Psylock to a 2-1 and then bringing it back to a 2-2, I think makes sense. It does destroy the Ravonna synergy, but you weren't seeing Ravonna with Psylock anyways. So ultimately, a good change. Give it back its power, give a little bit of its identity back, let it be playable again. The win rates are absolutely awful, but that's, again, because the decks it was being played in are now awful. So Psylock needed that little buff. Just like Sauron. I might have said Psylocke, Sauron interchangeably. I don't even remember now, whatever. Sauron getting a plus power. I mean, this doesn't really make a difference. Shuri also lost 1 power. You're not losing Shuri games by the 1 power, right? Like, it's not, oh, damn, that Sauron buff, that got me for sure. Because when you got like a 28 power, Red Skull and all this stuff, right? There's so much power in Shuri decks. It's like the 1 power doesn't really make a difference. But again, in theory, I like the idea of them saying, okay, we nerfed this card. The deck isn't performing as hot as it used to be. We can probably give it its point back. No harm, no foul type idea. And that's fine. That's absolutely fine. I'm glad that they're revisiting old cards and giving them their power back when necessary. This is huge. This is huge. Now, Claw, ironically, while being a stealer of cubes for the most part, is one of the cards that I've played the least in Marvel Snap. I don't know what it is. There's certain cards I just don't like. Mojo I don't like. Claw I don't like for some reason. There's cards I just do not play. Titania pisses me off. Everyone's like that. There's cards that other people love that you just don't play. Like, I have a million She-Hulk splits. I have a million Chavez splits, right? There's cards we tend to fall to. Claw's never been one of them for me. It just doesn't feel worth it. A 5-4 for 6 power that can only go for the right, that's kind of sus. Now up to 8 power, the stats are starting to line up. We're talking a little bit more stats here. You Claw on turn 5, suddenly your Spectrum getting it to a 5-6 while also applying 8 power to the right is pretty damn cool. And that's 8 pure power. Negative zone doesn't matter. Locations don't matter. Death's Domain doesn't matter. So there's a lot of flexibility here. This is a pretty significant buff. And I think keeping Claw's identity with the power to the right is important. Instead of giving it like a 5-5 that did the +6, giving it the +8 I think is kind of interesting. Although I don't even know if this is enough. It's a lot though. It's a lot. But I can see Claw being 5-5 eventually. But what do I know? Ongoing is actually making a bit of a comeback right now, so it's cool for it to get another piece in Claw. Then we have, quite frankly, the spiciest buff of them all. We have Ultron buffing the drones from a 1 power drone to a 2 power drone. And this is huge. This is doubling the power of the drones, right? And this is awesome. Still susceptible to that of Killmonger and etc. But It's a lot of power, and this is a huge buff for those classic Patriot surprise Ultron decks. Cozy's probably frothing at the mouth at the prospect of releasing another surprise Ultron guide. It's one of his favorite decks in the game, and he's gonna cover it. I know he will. But it's like one of those things where it's like, yes, this change had to happen. Ultron completely fell out of relevance. There were times where it had very high win rates when played because people were just like, oh, Ultron's dead. And all of a sudden, like, Ultron just comes down. And people are like, what the hell? I forgot the card existed. But now, like, as players are getting savvier, I think in general, Marvel Snap players are getting better. We're getting less newer players, and the players that are here are much more seasoned. You're not going to catch people by surprise with Ultron. So you need that extra power. You need, the Patriot Mystique. But even then, like, I mean, listen. That's an extra power across the board, across every single drone, across all the locations. It's a very significant buff. And Ultron is a 6'8", honestly, is nothing to scoff at either. Like, it's enough power to make a difference in the location it's played. So really like this change here. Absolutely massive buff. And we got another video for you here if you're interested in checking it out. We're be streaming it live on Twitch TV. If you're not following, definitely hit that follow button to get your free variants for the X-Men 97 variant. Twitch drops anyways. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and we'll see you on that next Marvel Snap video.